Hey there, this is Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. It's a podcast about making things up and making things happen. I love talking to creative people. Today, my guest is a multi-hyphenate. He's an author. He's a singer. He's a songwriter. He's a producer. His name is Mike Maimone, and he has a new book out and an album called the same thing. It's Guess What? I Love You. And it's about a really extraordinary year in his life. He met and fell in love with the publicist Howard Bragman, who is somebody that I've known as an acquaintance since the 90s. Back when I did a lot of magazine journalism, I often would see Howard at events, and I always liked him. He was always warm and nice and different than other people in that world. And Mike met him and fell in love with him first over an app, and then they met in person, and it was head over heels soulmate time. And they were planning to get married and move in together and all of these plans. And then Howard discovered he had a form of leukemia that was very, very tough to beat. And once he was diagnosed, it wasn't long until he was gone. And so Mike had the experience of finding the person, the forever guy, as he calls it in the book, and losing them within a year. And he writes about it with such grace and humor and honesty. And when I did the interview with him, I hadn't gotten all the way through it. I think I was sort of savoring it, and I knew where it was going, and their love story was so nice to read about, like two people meeting and falling in love in this world through apps and the things that we all do, and finding each other, and it was beautiful. And so there's a few times I ask him questions that are in the book that I hadn't gotten to yet, but I have since gotten to them, and it's just very beautiful what he writes about. And because the time was so compressed, he's able to sort of go through every day, every step practically of their relationship and their courtship and then the end. And I found it, I don't know, for people losing somebody, there's something about the journey of that as sad as it was, there was a kind of peace to it and a kind of beauty. And I think that's a tribute to Mike and to Howard. So anyway, I loved this conversation. I thought it was just wonderful. So before we get to the interview, though, I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by me pretty much. If you want to support it, there's a few things you can do. You can go to DennisAnyone.net and leave a tip in my virtual tip jar. You can also subscribe to my Substack and Patreon, which is called Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. At the moment, it's free because I am posting less frequently since I got a full-time job, but it's a fun little sequel to this podcast, and you can learn about that at Patreon or Substack, Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. The other thing is you can become a subscriber to DNR Studios. I'm part of a group of shows with the Derek and Romaine podcast family, and for a monthly fee, you get my show early, and you get all these other cool shows. So go to DNR Studios and learn about that. And here's a breaking update. I'm going to be on a Derek and Romaine cruise in 2027 in February down to Mexico, and we're going to do like a live podcast taping. We've just started to figure it out, but it's a year away, maybe not quite a year. Learn about that at DNR Travel. All right, I think that's enough plugs. It's enough plugs. All right, here now is my interview with Mike Maimone. Joining me from Laguna Beach, it's Mike Maimone. He is the author of the book, Guess What? I Love You, and there's an album that goes with it. He's a musician. He wears a lot of different hats, a producer, a songwriter, and now an author, and I'm happy he's on the podcast. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks for having me, Dennis. I appreciate it.
I am listening to your audiobook. I'm not all the way through yet. I'm sort of savoring it because I knew your late husband, not super well, but as a magazine journalist, I knew Howard Bragman, who was your late husband. But it's also just nice to hear a love story unfold. It's just nice to hear a love story unfold through all of the things that we all deal with, apps, Scruff, monogamy, not monogamy, all the stuff that we're all dealing with. This love just keeps going.
Yes.
Right? And I just like that. I like seeing it in the world.
That means a lot to me. I really try to always, even if my art has sort of examines the negative things happening all around us, I always want there to be a silver lining and a sense of positivity and a reason to keep going.
Well, I think that's certainly true in your story, because these walls come up or these obstacles come up, but the love just keeps, nope, not today. That's not going to be a problem, right? Yeah. And it's from both sides. And I don't know, I found it inspiring in a way, which is, it's so bittersweet because there's so much that unfolds in this story and in your life. How do you describe the book to someone that you've just met that knows nothing about you or the story?
I think the elevator pitch is essentially that it's a love story, but it's also about grief and healing.
Yeah.
Because over the 2 years plus that it took me to write it and compose and produce the companion album, it went from this sudden debilitating grief where I was starting to question everything, the ground that I was standing on. And over the process of producing these two companion pieces, I really started to feel this change in myself and this personal growth and the realization that I have this spiritual side and the ways that I felt Howard's love enduring even in his physical absence. So it's as much a story on love and loss as it is at the end. It becomes a story on healing and spiritual awakening.
And that comes across, and it's beautiful. And I like the way you write about things. You're very honest and vulnerable in it. Did you feel that as you were writing it, or were you kind of like, oh, do I put that detail in there? I don't know. I just thought there was an openness about it that I don't know that everyone could do it.
It means a lot to me that comes across because Howard was such a masterful storyteller and weaver of narratives as a publicist. He was just such a great storyteller and such a larger-than-life personality that something that was constantly a theme that guided me was to be authentic and tell it all and not hold back. I think the only thing that I had to do to censor myself was if there were certain sort of sexual things, I tried to describe them as creatively as possible without just being bluntly graphic, because I want the story to reach a wide audience. And I could have dove more into the nitty gritty of our sex, but I preferred to leave it to the imagination of the reader. Let the reader determine who's the top and who's the bottom. Or both.
And what? It's interesting you say that, because I am writing a play now, and there's sex in it, and I sort of believed that in order to appeal in a broad way, you had to be vague about gay sex. Mm-hmm. And then Heated Rivalry came out, and I was like, oh shit, we know what dick's going in what hole at any given moment and how they feel about it, and we're all in.
We're all in.
And so I was empowered by that. But I think I have that same instinct. And I think for your story, I think your instinct was right, because you talk about your attitudes around sex, and you're very, I think, open and vulnerable about that stuff. For example, you had less experience. Your body, quote unquote, body count was less than Howard's in terms of that.
Body count.
Yeah, I guess that's what the kids are calling it.
Funny.
But yeah, and I just thought, your insecurities, those little things that would flare up without judgment. I thought the way you depicted it was beautiful. And I feel like your instincts were right about that. I worked as a magazine journalist throughout the 90s and into the 2000s. That was my bread and butter. Yeah. And it was a glorious time in my career. And it was the time to do that. And I worked with a ton of publicists. And Howard was one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Because publicists at that time, because of the nature of their job, they always were a little guarded. I never really felt like they were real people. They had a really tough job. They had a thankless job, and I never looked down on them, but I rarely became friendly with them, which was probably professional boundaries. But also, I think I just never connected with them. I think they had walls up. Howard wasn't like that. And I didn't know him super well, but I was always happy to see him when I saw him at parties. He didn't feel like a publicist to me. And at that time, I was working with a ton of them. And then when I saw what he was doing around helping gay people come out and deal with those kinds of things. I just thought, publicists that I've experienced, especially as a journalist, are very risk averse. We're always trying to stop things from happening or kill that quote or that story or what are you seeing or whatever. They're a little bit of paranoia. And I never felt that around Howard. And I always felt, and then when I saw that he was doing this kind of work, I'm like, oh, that tracks, because he was different than almost every other publicist that I encountered. And I was, like I said, that was the world I was in. Yeah.
I think to inject a story in there. So I got a call from Harvey Levin from TMZ shortly after Howard passed away, telling me that he wished he could have made it to the memorial, but he couldn't. And one of the things he said, however you feel about TMZ and their journalism, Harvey said to me that he really liked Howard because of how genuinely curious he was about people, and he would call to just say hi and, how are you doing? And remember, partner names and kid names and hobbies. And he had a completely genuine, with no agenda, curiosity for people. And that served him so well in his career as a publicist and just in his life, because you can see by how many people showed up for him at his memorial and how many people reached out to me, the new spouse, only in his life for a year, but I became this lightning rod for love for Howard, of sharing stories with me, which I needed. I needed more than what I got. I was so shortchanged in our fucking horrifically short end to our year. So I openly invited all of these stories and the love for Howard into my life, and it was overwhelming because of how much he gave and how much he cared. Yeah. It's almost like because of these qualities, he doesn't seem like someone that would become a publicist. It seems like he would do something else. When he talked to you about why he loved that and why he did it, what do you remember him saying? Because to me, he was different than the others. Yeah, it was not anything he said. It was just what I observed in the hospital and, facing his own mortality. He cared so much about his caretakers. He wanted to know about each nurse. I would come into the room after he had been changed to a new location, and he already knew every detail about the nurse's life and boyfriend and their hopes and aspirations. Right. And he remembered it all. So it was never something that he said. There was never a motive behind it. It was just who he was. And that's the thing that I observed, and I was in awe of how well he took care of those around him. Yeah. I liked the passages where he talked to you about your work, because I relate to your hustle and your scrappiness and doing a bunch of different things and like putting it out there and just like, I don't know maybe there's another path. Maybe I should have gone into real estate. I don't know. I'm doing this. Dark nights of the soul.
Yes, all of it. I get it. I am like that. And I think it would be very easy for someone that had been in Hollywood as long as he had and seen all of the stuff to be like, kid, I don't know what you're doing, But he wasn't like that. He's like, you could be a star. I love your music. Like, he wasn't jaded about career, about creative careers. He wasn't like, I don't know, you know what I mean? And I feel like he easily could have been in the world that he was in.
Totally. But he loved it because of its authenticity. He was such a champion for living authentically. And it's like if he saw somebody who was following their passion, that lit a fire in him because he really admired that. And had I just stayed an accountant and whatever, I might have had more paid vacation and been able to afford health insurance in my 20s and 30s. But I would never have met Howard, and I wouldn't have made such an impression on him because he really saw to my core that I was an artist and I was never going to stop.
Right. And he was okay with it and he loved it. And he said to you at one point, I think, you're web designing to pay the bills and you're making some money with your band and your music and stuff like that. But you were feeling like, web design, I wish I didn't have to do that. And he was like, no, you're looking at it wrong. You built two successful things. They're both, you know, like you have the wrong, you're looking at this
perspective was off.
It's off. And it's not the perspective of someone that has been in Hollywood for as long as he has and is, you know, he wasn't jaded. And that's kind of remarkable to me.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that he's seen a lot of people who rise to fame quickly and at a young age and don't have to work those other jobs and how they take it for granted and do stupid things and wind up on TMZ for whatever. And he, towards the end of his career, represented a few of these people who get themselves in trouble and then wanted to make amends and get their careers back, which he believed that cancel culture froze bad behavior in place.
Right, that's in your book.
And I admired that about him, that if someone in their heart of hearts makes amends, apologizes, wants to do the work, that they deserve a second shot. And whether they do it or not is up to them. But he could help use his status to lend his voice to these people who had been silenced if he believed them that they really wanted to change and make amends.
And he was wise about that stuff. But I also felt, at least from the LGBT perspective, that he knew the value of being authentic and free. And he wanted that for his clients that were in the middle of it, Don Lemon or Chaz Bono. He knew the value of the other side of that.
Right.
And so I think he was like, I want to help you get there because I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I think that came through in his work. I always loved seeing him at things, and I remember the letterhead for Bragman, Nyman, Caffarelli, which was a firm. Like I would get those faxes. Man, that was such an era and such a time. But he's always somebody that I love to talk with. I always felt like he was rooting for you, you know? It was cool.
Absolutely. He was such a cheerleader in the best possible way.
Yeah. I love that you guys met on Scruff, and because when you go to write this book, you have all these text messages, you have all these Scruff messages, and the way you depict them in the book is very visual, but it's also, I think we relate to it. Like, there's a digital trail. After he passed, what was it like to look at those messages, to have that record? It was all of the emotions. It was excruciating, but I had to do it. I knew that eventually I'd get a new phone and somehow the messages wouldn't transfer. And like I said, I was blessed with a year with this incredible man, my forever guy, but I only got a year. And that made every single thing more special and important. And even the mundane stuff like taking a walk with the dogs in the morning or going grocery shopping, like each holiday, each benchmark, we only got one. Yeah. So I wanted to just capture that. So I screenshotted the entire text thread. Wow.
And so it was just like, how can I capture this? And there's actually a chapter on grief in the digital age towards the end of the book. And it was just all the digital footprint we leave. It can be haunting for some people. I've talked to a lot of people about their different ways that they've addressed grief.
Right.
And some people sort of shut it off. They don't want to see pictures. They're going to, in their own time, return to that. But for me, because I felt so shortchanged and that I was just on the cusp of discovering who Howard really was as a man, I just wanted more. And so I went on this mission to preserve the time that we did have.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that it exists. It exists for all of us. All of this stuff is there. So from the time you met, the first Scruff messages, till the time he passed was like a year?
Almost exactly a year.
Almost exactly a year.
He first reached out to me on his birthday, which is February 24th, and he passed the following February 11th.
And I remember that. I remember that time, seeing so many posts on social media and people that I knew, people from that world. And it happened very fast, his illness. Like,
it did. Yeah.
What a thing. I want to talk to you about music generally, because I love the songs on your album. There's a wit to it, a humor to your songs that make me laugh. Like I Hate Everyone But You. Uh-huh. That was inspired by
Howard texted me that.
He texted you that. Yeah. So it was his feeling. It wasn't your feeling. It was his feeling.
That song is from his point of view, yes. Yeah. I actually gave him writer credit on 3 or 4 of the songs where I borrowed actual words from him, and that's one of them. So if you look at the credits, it says written by Michael John Maimone and Howard Benjamin Bragman.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then I love Paranoid in Paradise.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess Pot doesn't agree with you very well.
Oh my God, no. Did you get to that chapter?
Yes, there's Xanax and dogs and like, yeah.
Oh my God. Each new group of people I meet, I'm a musician, so every band that I get a gig with, people are smoking weed, and I'm like, maybe I'll try again. No, Mike, don't try again.
Yeah,
You're allergic to it.
It doesn't agree with you. I tried it a little bit for medical reasons at one point. I think I did it once for recreation. I didn't love it. One time I did like a chocolate thing to try to, I was dealing with some anxiety and nervous system issues. I thought maybe this would help. I was time traveling on that drug. I remember watching Stephen Colbert, and I was like, I already know the end of this joke. Mm-hmm. Like before it gets there. And I was like, this is not, I don't get the chill, Cheech and Chong. This is not my experience. So, I relate to all of that.
Dark. I go so dark, and it's not fun. And people that I'm with end up becoming babysitters, and so it's not a good thing. But Howard was the first person who helped me pull out of that mess because he just went to sleep. Like we were in our house, so it was just like, all right, you know what, I'm over this, and he went to bed. Usually we're like in a green room at some club or some random house, and so it's just a very unsettled situation for me, and that just compounds it, and there's no out. It's like I'm going to go wait in the tour van and just be freaked out. This was like he went to bed, I calmed down, I realized he wasn't trying to murder me or vice versa somehow I was
you were going to be the murderer.
I was in danger of being murdered and murdering.
Right. All right. That sounds like a good drug to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you come out? It wasn't super early, right? It was a little bit later.
No, I was a late bloomer in just figuring things out for myself, and then I could look back and see the signs. But I really didn't start to realize that I was gay until I was out of college. I went to Notre Dame, so it was a very Catholic, conservative-ish sort of place.
Right.
So it was not the place for me to realize these things about myself. And then when I finally was kind of out on my own, I started to realize like these things that I sort of through self-preservation instincts as a young athlete wouldn't allow myself to realize were attractions to men. I thought that I was sort of just building the blueprint of my future self.
Right.
By like, I like that guy for this and that.
Yeah.
And that beard and that gray hair. And
you write about this in the book and you're like, I hope my beard comes in thick like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
I was just immediately convincing myself that these, when all my friends on the football team would be like looking at the cheerleaders, but I was like looking at the coaching staff.
Right.
Like convinced myself that it was for those reasons. So it wasn't until my 20s and then, playing music full time and being around a lot more progressive people and feeling more comfortable that I finally started to date men. And then I was in a long-term relationship living with a partner for 3 years before I actually finally told my parents.
Wow. You write about this a little bit in the book, like that my roommate isn't just my roommate. How did they react?
Pretty common one, isn't it?
Yeah. How did they react?
Quotes. Surprise. My mom cried. They both thought, my soul was going to go to hell because they're very Catholic. And so they were concerned for me. And it was more of that. It was more that they were concerned for me and my well-being. I don't think they ever had any prejudice in their hearts toward gay people. I think that they just were worried about me.
Yeah.
And I think it took probably some days for them to the shock to wear off. And then over time came around and, met my partner and then my next partner. And then they loved Howard. So it was a process, but I'm proud of them.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And then you write about a little bit about Howard's mother, was different in that way. The way she, like instantly went to a different place, and that's lovely to see.
Yeah, she really was unusual, especially for that time. Howard being 25 years older than me, he graduated from college in like 80 something. And so right away after he got his first job, he came out to his mom, and she basically said she wished she would have been able to be there for him for all the pain and the deliberation that he must have gone through.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That put a lump in my throat when I read that.
Yeah, for sure.
When you came out, what did you think about it in terms of your career? Like, is this something I need to keep quiet, or how did you think about it in terms of your band and what you were doing? Or were you just like, okay, I'm just going to be myself and that's it?
I was playing in this trio called Mutts that I started with Bob Buckstaff, bass player, my brother from another mother. And his younger brother is gay. And so he immediately showed me this compassion and this empathy and that I had never had from anyone else.
Right.
And so he knew as like a co-writer of the songs, you know, a lot of my lyrics were veiled, talking about political situations. I have a song called Blind Truth about all of these quote unquote family values, politicians and preachers. So things like that. I was writing about my experience as a gay man, but not really coming out and saying it exactly. And then around the time where I started to come out to my family is when I started to write more outwardly about it. And to me, it was just, I always write songs from my heart and about myself and honestly, and I couldn't keep doing that. You know, I had to start saying the quiet parts out loud.
Yeah, you're just like, I can't do that pronoun thing again. Like I had so many love songs with she as the other pronoun, and I couldn't do it. And I think it's funny because I'm now at a point in my life where I feel like I'm so comfortable, and I have several songs with he pronouns that I almost want to go back to the other side and just write just out of creativity. Yeah.
Like to try it again from the place I am now. So we'll see it when that happens.
That makes sense. Talk to me about your year of yes. Because I remember this was like a Shonda Rhimes book. I don't know if that's where you got it from, or because I think anyone could decide to have a year of yes. But you met Howard during a year of yes. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. It does sound very Shondaland.
I think she had a book called that. Yeah.
So my friend Ashantika, very similar to Shonda.
Interesting.
Ashantika. She's a great friend of mine. I met in Chicago around playing music, and so she knew my ex-fiance and I equally. Like, she was, we met at a bar where I had a residency every week, so she actually probably knew him more than me because I was performing and they were hanging out. But when we split, she was sort of like, she was supportive of both of us. She sort of took that neutral path. But her advisement for me was have a year of yes. Like, go be a slut. Go have sex with someone that you're not thinking about marrying. And, be flirty, have fun. And do stuff that's not tied to my music career. Because before that, it was like, travel? What's that? That's tour. Like, I would only go see places if I had a gig. And so I followed that thread, and it led me to this long distance relationship that I probably would not have pursued had it not been for her encouragement.
With you and Howard, what was the closest you came to, like, okay, let's break it off? Because you write about like having doubts about like the distance thing or whatever. But was there a moment where it became really close to breaking off?
Oh, never. No, It was like, I think we both put up walls for self-preservation, but, for me, feeling like I wanted somebody who was closer to my own age, obviously someone who was closer geographically, because I was starting to get some momentum back in Nashville, having been there for the pandemic and then for a heart condition. And it was like, okay, I'm finally getting some good gigs here and meeting some people and co-writing. I didn't want to just pack it up and go to LA. And Howard obviously wasn't going to leave his career in LA. So, those were walls that we sort of put up just to protect our hearts. But we knew so fast.
It was undeniable.
It was undeniable from like the first moments we chatted on Scruff. And that's why we got off Scruff so fast and started calling each other. And we were on the phone several times a day. I hate the fucking phone.
Yeah, but you were there. You were.
Yeah.
And
but not with him. I had to talk to him all day.
You write about this whirlwind first weekend together in New York, and, he sends a car for you, and it's a wonderful New York thing. And, you're a scrappy musician getting by, and he's an established professional with nice things, Yeah. Was the money thing ever a thing with you guys? You write about it in the book, but it never seemed, he doesn't seem like a snob. And I think that's part of it.
Yeah. And I've, since moving to LA, I've definitely met some money snobs who just can't help but show you how like rich they are with their, like, I call them secret society symbols, like this Hermes bullshit with the H on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know what it was. I thought the H was for Howard.
Yeah.
And he's not one of these dudes who has like a million fancy things all around. He wore like sensible polo shirts.
Right.
He didn't have like the logos everywhere, but I asked him about this H blanket. I was like, oh, it's a Howard blanket. He's like, that's Hermes. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I looked it up and I'm like, I hate this thing. I fucking hate this blanket.
No, we can never, I will not cuddle with you under this blanket ever again. No. Was it a gift or did he buy it himself?
I didn't ask him. I was so upset about it, but he just thought that was like cute.
Oh, that's so sweet. I feel the same way. I get a little resentful and all that stuff. And then once in a while, there's some luxury thing that I get a taste of. And I'm like, oh shit, this is good. This is better.
Look, if it provides utility, I'm into it.
Yeah.
But if it's just a status symbol, get that shit out of here.
Yeah.
Like buy a blanket, a nice wool blanket from like Target or something, and give the balance to a homeless person who doesn't have any blanket.
Yeah.
So
how did he talk to you about your career day to day? Would he strategize with you based on his experience, or was it like, that's your thing, I support you, I believe in you? Because I'm sure he has experience and ideas and things like that.
Yeah, one of the most charming things he would do is like sort of out of the blue hand me a sheet of paper and it would be a set list of my own songs. Like, I really like this flow. What do you think? I'm like, oh my God. Like,
right.
You're actually thinking about me and my music when you have so much other stuff you should probably be doing. But so that was really endearing to me and gave me some confidence that, if this man who's so established and has worked with Stevie Wonder and all kinds of A-list musicians is actually into my music, it really gave me this push that I needed at that time in my life.
And early on, he described you as like the love child of Randy Newman and Leon Russell. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that, if I were you, that would say to me, oh, he listens. He's paying attention. Yeah. I would feel very seen by that as an artist.
I felt, seen is a good word. He kind of got to my core, which is something that was one of his superpowers, was just understanding people fundamentally. So that was a very unusual Scruff message to get on that first thing. So
first of all, it's a full sentence. You also write that he knew the difference between there, and there.
That's a big pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. I think that's a Sabrina Carpenter lyric, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. And she has all those songs where she trashes men. I heard Man-Child and I was like, I got my feelings hurt for men. Anyway, but I'm a fan. How do both of you look at fame? What did Howard think of fame, and what do you think of it?
It's hard for me to answer for Howard. I think for himself, he enjoyed the attention of being asked on Good Morning America, BBC, and all these things. I think as someone who helped a lot of famous people tell their stories, that he really appreciated being valued for his opinions. So I think he enjoyed it, but he was also around people who had experienced the negative side of fame.
Right.
So he knew to hold it at arm's length.
Right.
And it was like this fun novelty, but he was not in any way obsessed with it.
Right.
Have you been watching The Comeback with Lisa Kudrow?
Yes, I might be one episode behind, but I just saw the one with Mickey and the Ashes.
I'm still catching up. I'm on season 2. Right?
Oh, okay. All right. Oops.
That's one of those things that's making me sort of put into perspective. Like, yeah, he was never obsessed with the idea of being famous.
Right.
Although he did enjoy when someone would recognize him.
Right. And he was like a judge on Drag Race, right? Did I dream that?
Season 1.
Yeah. Like stuff like that, but fun. But also, when you think of who are the crisis publicists, I think of him. I don't know of other ones. I know there are, but he's the guy.
He's the guy. A couple of people who do that reached out to me saying how much they learned from Howard and how much they appreciate and looked up to him as like the godfather of that niche of publicity, which meant a lot. Some of them were like, can I buy his domain name and all this stuff? And I'm like, I am grieving. I am not in a place to be doing business transactions with people. So there's a lot of that in the months after Howard passed away that I was not prepared for.
Yeah, that's a lot. He did a lot of crisis publicity.
Yeah.
Was he good in a crisis day to day? I feel like that's an interesting niche for someone to want to be in. How did that rub off on his own life?
His mental clarity in pressure situations was mind-blowing. Like I'm trying to think of a situation where my brain would get foggy, but like maybe this is a good example because I can't think of one right now.
Right.
Howard would be like that. He'd be like, oh, you have a question for me? It deals with this situation. He'd go through his like internal database and parse all of the data and come up with the exact thing that needed to be said in that moment. It was stunning. And I don't have that. So I think that was something that made him so good at that job, was somebody could be having the worst day of their life. Ed McMahon losing his house. And Howard just looked at the situation, consulted whatever resources he had in his mind and available to him on the phone, and came up with a plan. It was incredible.
Yeah. And that was his, and he seemed to love it.
Yeah.
Like he seemed to take that challenge and be like, this is my thing. I can do this. Yeah. I think that's really interesting. Early on in your relationship, he recommended 2 books to you, The Ethical Slut and A Guide to Rational Living. And I've heard of The Ethical Slut, and I think it's, I haven't read it, but I get a sense of what it's about being able to have more than one partner, move through that world, explore your sexuality, explore your love, and still treat people fairly and respectfully.
Yeah, it's the seminal work on polyamory.
Yeah. The other book I hadn't heard of, A Guide to Rational Living. What did you end up reading it, and what's it about?
Yeah. It is it's sort of in that self-help, like, life hacks realm.
Yeah, I love that shit, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I need like a refresher in that every once in a while. And so the main message that I pulled from it was to remove the word should from your vocabulary, because nothing should be anything. It just is what it is, and then you react to it.
Right.
So that's boiling a whole book down to one concept. But, I mean, that's the most important part I took from it. Kind of a funny, interesting story on that is after he passed away, I decided to listen to it on Audible.
Right.
And just to dive back in, I was on a plane and started it. And then I listened to a few chapters and then just let it go. And a couple weeks later, I visited one of Howard's friends, and she asked me, oh, what are you listening to on Audible? And I was like, oh, I haven't really been listening to anything lately. And the next morning, my phone woke me up. That book just started playing from Audible.
That you hadn't opened in
I hadn't
weeks.
opened in forever, and it's just suddenly playing and it was the chapter on grief and loss and like what to do after you lose somebody. And it was, I mean, there were so many of these moments that were just like, "Hi, Howard,"
where he's like there. I know, like that's astonishing. Like, what are some of the other ones?
There was a moment where right before Howard's celebration of life, his memorial in LA, where I was to take the stage with Stevie Wonder, which was mind blowing. I went to the place where we got our hair cut together, and the barber, whose name is Angel, is cutting my hair, and I told him, that Howard had passed, and so he was telling me his great Howard stories and how much he admired Howard. And he goes to trim my mustache, and I was at that moment thinking how much I loved when we got our mustaches trimmed because it makes the kisses better. Mm-hmm. And the light bulb above the chair popped. At that exact moment that I was thinking how much I needed to kiss Howard. And Angel goes, "Hi, Howard." He wasn't in my head. He didn't know that I was thinking about Howard at the moment. But he felt it. I felt it. And one thing that I've heard in a lot of my readings and talking to people about grief is that, especially very soon after a person has passed, their energy goes somewhere.
Yeah,
it's all energy, and there's heart waves and brain waves, and it's like it's not too far fetched to think that they could exist in electricity, at least for a moment.
Yeah,
and so I really believe that there was some activity around me that was Howard reaching out.
I think telling the story, it opens other people up to sharing their stories. And so suddenly you become, I guess I'm the grief guy now, right? Yeah. Publicly. How do you feel about that? And I think in some ways it's probably really beautiful, but you're like, I'm a musician. Like, like it's just, it's another twist in a story, right? Full of twists.
Yeah, it's been the most meaningful and powerful art and connection that I've ever had in 20 years of doing this full time. It's a little overwhelming at times, but to be able to share such deep and meaningful stories with people and have people open up to me and share things, it feels like everything I've always wanted in making music, which is to impact people and to make those connections. So while it is much heavier than if I were just making fun, dancey beach party music,
right,
I do think this is much more along the lines of what I've always wanted, which is a really powerful bond with the people who are listening to my music. Right,
that they really feel connected to it. What's it like to perform the songs you wrote about Howard now?
It can be very difficult. So the album and book release tour that I'm doing and sort of building as I go, it's like walking up a staircase and like constructing the stairway as I'm on it, because booking is so hard right now. But it's the show. I'm actually grateful for that, because the show is so delicate, and it's part performing the songs and then some very short readings from the book, and it's been an emotional roller coaster, and to be able to tweak it as I go. This last one that I did, it felt absolutely magical. And for me, it's very difficult to go back to that place and play a song like Helpless about holding Howard as he passed away. And it's horrific to go to that place, but I feel like it's so important to do it, to not just take the fun songs and say like everything was great. It's part of the story is that excruciating moment, and it still just like breaks me, and it's hard to get through the song and then to do a short reading after that. It's so hard, but it's clearly resonating because I can tell other people are feeling.
Right.
And I think we just need to be in touch with our emotions across the board so much more in this day and age. And then we pull out of it. And then I talk about the healing and the signs I've seen and the butterfly and waiting in the light. And we leave everybody laughing and doing like this sing-along. And so it's been very difficult to perform these songs, but extremely rewarding in the connection that's being made.
Do you feel him at your shows?
Oh yeah. And people come up to me and they say, I feel like Howard's here. People who don't know Howard. And
right.
That just means so much to me. And even more than that, people have said it's helped them work through stuff in their own mind. I had a woman after the show tell me, like, I feel like that was better than therapy because I've worked through so many things on my own grief. So that's what I mean by this being so much more rewarding than anything I've ever done in music.
Like I said before, I think I mentioned I'm writing a play, and I think I have this theory that if people tell the truth about their life and their feelings, things that are uncomfortable, even if you don't relate to that specific thing, or even if you sort of disagree with that thing, mm-hmm. there's something about somebody bearing their soul that is really moving, right? Yeah. It gives you something. And it sounds like that's what you're doing every time you perform.
Yeah. It's such an exchange of energy and emotion. It's just been really incredible.
Talk about the decision to write a book.
So I started after that celebration of life. I had some friends, including Ashantika, who had come to visit and be there with me. And again, she's a great ideas person. She said, you just live. I
would call her up every year and be like, what now? Tell me what the fuck to do.
Oh, she's a fantastic human.
So
she said, you can't see this now, but you just lived a movie, and Howard is such a star. You need to document this and make it happen. And I started to think, okay, yeah, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to this story. I guess it is sort of a neatly packaged tragic love story. I didn't really want to hear that at that point. So I started thinking, well, what could I do? Maybe it's a documentary about Howard. And so I went on this learning quest and dove into his videos on YouTube and called up some of his former clients and colleagues. And I put together a treatment for a documentary within a few months. And then I started sending it to producers that I knew Howard knew. And across the board, everybody was receptive to it. But this one person in particular, Ron Sylvester, who directed, he was a producer on Commitment to Life about AIDS Project Los Angeles.
I think I know him. Does he live in Long Beach and do like Long Beach Gay Film Festival stuff?
Maybe it's film festival stuff. I'm pretty sure he's in Palm Springs.
Yeah. Silver Fox guy. Yeah. Okay. I do know him, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
He's a great guy. So he set me on this path. He said, this is a great idea, but, this is like 5 to 10 year project. You have to raise funds. You have to get all this other stuff. But, you could just write a book. And there's no overhead, and you can just do that yourself. And so he recommended that I read, spoiler alert, The Hero Dies.
Yeah.
Which was excruciating and so mean to tell me to read that book after having just lost my husband. But it was extremely valuable. And so that gave me a framework of, okay, here's a similar story to mine. What do I like and dislike about it? And how does that impact how I'll tell my story? So that sort of set me on the path I can write about Howard through the lens of our love story. Yeah.
And it's beautiful to read and listen to. It's accessible. It's funny. Like the writing, you do a really good job considering you've never written a book before. Were there lots of drafts? Was there lots of struggle with it? Or did it just kind of come out, in the way you were feeling?
I sort of approached it the way I approach song production, which is like lump everything in there until you have this mound of clay.
Right.
And then start throwing things out and twisting things around and making it into what it is. So whenever I was thinking of something, and a lot of it happened similar to my lyrics, which is when I'm not working on it.
Yeah.
If I'm in the shower, in the gym, taking a walk, on a plane, I would have to just get my phone out and start jotting things down, and I just emailed stuff to myself.
Yeah.
And then I came up with an outline and just started going, well, these go here and these go here and these don't go anywhere. I ended up having a lot of drafts of it.
Yeah.
because, obviously doing it in the Gmail app primarily, there were a lot of things that I needed to flesh out and prove. And so, yeah.
Tell me about the cover. It's got 2 cake pops on it, a pink one and it looks like a vanilla with chocolate on it. Yeah. What's the significance of the cover?
It's, that was our wedding cake. So when you get to that point in the book, that's, we were married in Howard's hospital bed. And, so we didn't get, I talk about how we didn't get any of the traditional things, including our wedding cake. And I had been playing in a band in Nashville at that point that did tons of weddings.
Right. You played a bunch of them.
Yeah, so many weddings. And I was just lamenting the fact that I didn't get any of that stuff that I had been observing constantly, including, playing How Sweet It Is while they cut the cake.
All of the things, all of the traditions.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not what I had envisioned for my wedding, other than looking and seeing like the man of my dreams that I was getting to marry. But everything else was not what I had envisioned. So his niece, Lizzie Kaplan, thought quickly, and she went down to the cafe and got us 2 cake pops. So that was our wedding cake.
That's beautiful. Lizzie Kaplan, the actress?
Yeah.
I didn't know they were related. That's cool. Yeah. That's beautiful. What was it like when you first came to L.A. And into his world? Did you like it here? What do you think of L.A.?
I like the sense of sort of like a creative wilderness.
Everyone's trying to do stuff. That's kind of cool.
It's inspiring.
It can be, absolutely.
You walk, like driving around on Mulholland, it's like every time you're there, you're going to see someone shooting some kind of a photo shoot or video or something. And it's like everyone's trying to make something. And I think that fundamentally is inspiring.
Yes.
Whereas in Chicago and Cleveland, if you're out with a camera, you definitely get a sense that people are kind of looking at you like, what are you doing?
Right.
Nashville had a lot of it too, but I think Nashville is definitely music focused, whereas LA, it could be anything.
It could be anything.
People in any branch of the entertainment industry here.
There was a post that went up during the fires that somebody posted. I'm not even sure who it was, and I'm paraphrasing, but it basically said LA's the place where all the black sheep from every family came to try to make something.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of awesome, And I really related to that because I'm that person in my family that, and I thought that was beautiful. And it did. I was like, that sounds right. It was full of love, that idea.
Yeah. It makes it interesting. There's a lot of it's a very diverse tapestry of people out here, very eclectic.
Yeah.
It makes it, it makes it interesting.
Yeah. When did you fall in love with music?
It's been stages. It's like when I first started playing piano, I was 5, and my mom was sort of like forced me to take piano lessons.
Me too.
And I loved that I could just tinker on this keyboard and make a song. And then we moved, and I got a different teacher, and he was this giant, like 6'7" Hungarian man who had to like stoop to get through the door. And at that point, I had sort of started to lose interest in it because I didn't like the classical stuff that I had just started to start playing, like the watered down versions of Beethoven, or whatever. I think I was probably like 8 or 9 at this point, maybe. And he saw pretty quickly, he taught me how pop music works. And so I think the first books I can remember getting, those like Hal Leonard books of like the glossy cover. And I had the Forrest Gump soundtrack, Lion King, Aladdin, something else. So it was just like he was giving me the inner workings of the music that I actually was listening to.
Right.
While then showing me classical music like Tchaikovsky. Like I was this little meathead playing like grade school football and basketball. Like give him some aggressive stuff. Give him the 1812 overture, and it may have been like the watered down 10-year-old version, but it kept me in like loving music and discovering more types of music. And then I'd say the next step was when I went off to college, and I had never played in a band before, and I was just like tinkering on the piano in the chapel at the dorm at Notre Dame. And this guy Lawrence came in, and he lived down the hall from me, and he's like, "Oh, I'm starting a band with some friends. You should come play keys." And it was like the magic of being in a room with a bunch of other people and just sort of collectively breathing to life a song. It was another one of those moments where I was like, God, I just can't believe I get to do this.
Yeah. I took piano lessons as well, and I remember when I figured out, you can buy sheet music of pop songs. I can play Have You Never Been Mellow by Olivia Newton-John, which is my first sheet music purchase. Yeah. And that was like, okay, now I'm in. Yeah. But yeah, it was that shift of like, this is the music I love, and I can kind of do it a little bit. So that was a big thing for me as well. I imagine an odyssey like this. I can't imagine what it would have been like to go through, but there must be. Have you come to a point of like, what's next? Like you had this epic thing happen. Mm-hmm. The best of life and the worst of life in one big story. Yeah. And then how do you keep going, or how do you think about the future?
Well, it's certainly changed me. It's made me realize what is important in life, and observing Howard's poise at the end of his gave me a blueprint to say, if you can live each day in such a manner that at the end you can do nothing but express gratitude and tend to the people around you, that's a good life.
Yeah. That
means you did it right.
Yeah.
And now it's figuring out my version of that.
Figuring out your version of that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say I've figured it out, but I do know that part of it is this story that I've been given, and Howard's legacy I'm now the custodian of, and I know that it has to do with that, with sharing those things.
With sharing those lessons and all of that. And also, I think if you've lived authentically and you've been a good person, I think there's more peace than if, God, I need to apologize for that person. I was such a dick to them. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a different thing.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He did make amends with a couple of people that apparently he had irked at the end, and I'm glad that he had that chance, and I'm sure they were glad to have that chance. There's actually sort of a documented rift between he and Paula Abdul.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I'm a fan.
And they apparently she sent her a note in some ways to sort of say it's all good.
so he's good with Paula. That's so good. Yeah. Right.
Well, I mean, you need to have some drama to it.
Yes.
It can't all be rainbow and unicorns.
Especially with a bold-faced name.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever played a Paula Abdul cover song?
Oh, yeah. I do Straight Up.
Of course you do. Fuck. It's a good song. It's a banger.
It's a great sing-along, too. People always do the OOOs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I have a confession about music that people have embraced. I don't like in Sweet Caroline when people go, so good, so good, so good. You know what I'm talking about?
Do I know what you're talking about?
I think you probably lived in it.
Band and I'm a piano player. When I have to play Sweet Caroline, a part of my soul escapes through my nose. That's going to be the headline of this episode. Right. I always pick one quote. But I love that song, and I love Neil Diamond, but I don't like the audience participation part. I don't like so good, so good. I kind of like ba ba ba. I kind of like that, but I don't like so good, so good. You're doing what the horns do in the song.
Yes, it is there. You're not adding something new.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that.
Thank you.
That song to me it's. If I can take a step back, it is a fantastic song. It's well written. It's catchy. There's some cool chord changes in it. The production's great. It's the people who have killed it. It seems these people just drunkenly fall all over themselves doing the so goods.
I don't like
that
it.
Ruins the song for me.
I don't like it. But did you feel like you had to do it?
You have to do it.
You have to do it.
If you're doing like a piano cover set, someone's going to tip you $50 and say, play Sweet Caroline, and you have to do it. It's that song, it's Piano Man, and it's Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah.
All great songs, if you just look at them in a vacuum, very well written, great melodies, good words, some really cool chordal stuff happening. But the people have ruined them.
How do the people ruin Don't Stop Believing? Just by singing along too loud?
Same thing. No, it's the... Okay. I think I'm going on record now saying this. So we would do a wedding set.
Right.
And crush like some Otis Redding, Stevie Wonder, some like really great Motown stuff. And, you know, people are just dancing.
Right.
And then it's my job to start Don't Stop Believing, right? It starts with the piano.
Yep.
I don't even get through the first chord before everyone's up, everyone's rushing the stage, and some of these Tennessee weddings, they are not like the classiest people that you.
Okay, all right.
There is some like some gross drunken stuff happening, coming past the monitors into the stage area. Can I play your piano? While I'm playing it.
This is all happening during Don't Stop Believing. It just uncorks something with me. What songs did you love to play at those events? What songs were like, oh, this one's for me?
The Stevie Wonder catalog is just, I'll never get tired of it. And that's also another thing. It's like, if I were to be a songwriter who has a song that reaches like wedding band status, what a trip. What flattery that you've made a song. Typically they're all about love, which great topic. Universal. And it's so ubiquitous that it makes the repertoire of the wedding band. Cause they have to be songs that pretty much everyone from like grandma to little brother have heard.
Right.
And Stevie has like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
So those are really, I love playing like Superstition. We do, Isn't She Lovely? We do Higher Ground. We do, there's a few. And
I Just Called to Say I Love You? Not my favorite.
Yeah, we actually don't really do that one.
Yeah, it sounds like it was the Casio at the mall vibe, but that was the 80s.
Yeah.
80s production, man. I know it doesn't hold up, but the British invasion stuff sounds great still from the 80s.
Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of that stuff was a more tasteful use of the new electronic synthesizer stuff, but like still using, maybe it's a real drum set, maybe it's, I feel like there was more of a blend of organic and electronic. But the funny thing about playing with Stevie Wonder and his band was that his drummer, Stanley Randolph, played a wedding the night before Howard's celebration of life. And I was like, so question, you have to play Stevie Wonder songs at the wedding, right? And he's like, yes, of course. It's like, does anyone in the wedding know that it's Stevie Wonder's drummer on the drum set playing these songs? And he's like, no, they don't know. I was like, that's mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
That he's there playing these songs that like, he actually performs with Stevie Wonder.
And then you end up playing with Stevie at Howard's celebration of life. What were your interactions with Stevie like? Had you met him before?
No. I knew that Howard worked with him, and they remained friends. And but so I got a phone call from him through his manager, I think the day after Howard passed away, and he just had this really beautiful message for me, wished me his condolences for the loss of Howard, who was, it's one of his friends too. So he was experiencing that loss. But just a beautiful message about sort of the enduring power of love and spirit and being reunited again someday. I completely forgot that Howard had requested Stevie perform at his memorial.
You forgot.
I was so starstruck that I didn't. So I called back, and he did not answer. But I told his manager that, and then about a week later, I got confirmation in just the most beautiful way that he would be playing and that he wants me to perform with him.
I mean, what was that like? Were you nervous? Were you able to? Oh yeah, to sing as well as you would want with all those emotions? Like, how did you manage the performance?
Yeah. He was singing, so I was luckily just playing some keys.
Yeah,
and I was so nervous, but he was so welcoming and kind and inviting, and so we had a rehearsal at his studio, and it was one of the highlights of my life, but also I was so sad.
You were so sad because the reason it was happening.
Right. So it was kind of a brutal overload of emotions, but I looked at it as a gift from Howard.
Yeah. I mean, the timeline, it still strikes me when I think about it. Like the year, it was like a year. I'm sure there were people that were very important to him that you maybe met once, because that's how life is. And you write about that in the book, about how people were generally wonderful. If occasionally a few would be like, don't break his heart, like that vibe. And going through this whole thing. I just have like one or two more questions, but I want you to, at this point, say, promote anything you've got going on apart from, you've got the book, Guess What? I Love You, the album online, any appearances you've got going on, or you want to mention your Instagrams or anything you want to get a mention in for.
You can find me on all the social media things at Mike Maimone Music, and my website is just mikemaimone.com, so that's a great place to go if you want to find the streaming links or buy a record or buy a book. And I think the thing now is touring is so difficult to book because post-pandemic, so many places have closed, but we have more artists than ever trying to get out there and play gigs. So the thing that anyone listening can do to help that is just to follow on the things, because that data, the bookers,
matters. The bookers are looking at it.
Stuff matters.
Yeah, I would love to come and see you perform, whether it's the book stuff or later on, but I would love to come and see you in person. Do you have any places in LA that you like?
Well, the one that came to mind immediately was Hotel Cafe. Yeah. They're on kind of a hiatus right now.
Yeah.
They're moving locations. So when they come back, I'm sure I'll be playing there.
I love it. I see Tom there a lot, Tom Goss.
Yeah.
Who directed a music video of yours. It's very fun.
Yeah, the Unfollow X Factor version.
Yeah, you have so much fun content out there. Videos, all kinds of different shades of, serious and sexy and funny. And it's good. You're a very cool artist. I think that's awesome. So, here are my final thoughts. I'm writing a play now, and I think the theme of it is there magic in the world, or is this all just random bullshit? And I think reading your book, you would say, yes, there's magic in the world.
100%.
More so than you would have thought before this happened.
Absolutely. That is for sure the transformation for me, was that this taught me that there is something else to this existence.
There's something, and there's another plane going on. I don't need to know all the specifics. I don't need to adhere to any whatever, but there's something, there's magic in the world, right?
Absolutely.
I have a teacher that I admire very much. And at one point she shared this quote, and I think about it a lot when I'm going through a challenge. And it's in what ways are my current circumstances asking me to grow? And I think in an experience like yours, I feel like that quote is not up to the job. Your experience is too big. You know what I mean? That's cute.
For a lot of growth.
That's asking for a lot. Like, it's not up to the job. That's a cute magnet, but not today. But I think there must have been moments where you thought, why did this happen to me? All of it.
Yeah.
The amazing, the profound love, like, oh, this is love. This is what they write about in movies, and this is the thing, and then the loss, all in such a compressed time period.
I actually feel like I've come to grips with the answer to that over the last few years in making the book and the album, and it's that Howard was such a remarkable and benevolent person and helped so many people. His impact is still having effect now. Like Olivia Hill, who's the reason we met, she's a trans woman. She recently became the first trans person elected to public office in Tennessee. So his impact is still being felt. He deserved to feel what he needed at the end of his life. And so I feel like my role in this was to be that person for him. So when I'm having those like really low moments and sad and regretting not still having him and wishing we had more, I just think that was my job, was to be the guy that he wanted to be holding him at the end of his life.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful note to end on. Thank you for sharing your story, not just in this interview, but the way you write about it in your book. I think you're a remarkable person. So I'm glad we had this conversation.
Yeah, me too. It was really great speaking with you, and I'm so glad that you had me on.
Thanks again to Mike Maimone. Check out his book, Guess What? I Love You. I'm listening to the audiobook, and it's beautiful, but I'm sure it's wonderful to read as well. And he also has an album out of the same name. He has wonderful music on his website and all the different platforms where you listen to music, Mike Maimone. So this happened. What happened this week? Speaking of singers, I decided to treat myself to a concert, and I went and saw Jeremy Jordan at the Sorolla in Los Angeles by myself. I bought a last-minute ticket on StubHub, sat in the balcony, and Jeremy Jordan is an actor from Broadway. He's been in Newsies, was his breakout. He was in Gatsby. He was in Floyd Collins. He's going into Just in Time. The Jonathan Groff just left. And he was also on Smash. That was maybe one of the first times I saw him, right around the same time as Newsies. Anyway, I've been a fan, and I like him, and his show was wonderful. I'm more of a fan now. I love the way he sings, and he can also be very quiet and very not a lot of, vocal gymnastics, and he can just kind of be so tender in his vocals. And then he's also really fun. Like, he did a 14-minute version of Newsies, playing all the parts and, singing all the songs, kind of like he's like, and then it goes to this. And then he's like, what are you doing? The newspapers. We got to have the papes. And then it goes over here and I sing this or whatever. And it's really funny. And then he sings Santa Fe at the end, which is his big ballad from Newsies, which I love. And what I love about not Jonathan Groff, I love him. I can't help it. That was a Freudian slip. Jeremy Jordan is he gave you the songs you wanted. Like because I saw Ben Platt at the Hollywood Bowl a few years ago, and he didn't sing any of the Evan Hansen songs. I think he sang one song from the show, but it wasn't his character. He was like, no, I'm not giving it to you. But Jeremy's like, nope, I know why you're here, and I'm going to give it to you. And he gave it to us. He gave it to us. And I was sitting next to these two teenage girls who were like Backstreet Boys fans, energy of teen girls screaming, but it was for Broadway stuff. So the announcer before the show would come out and he goes, you know who's opening the next season, our first big show? I'm breaking the news here. It's going to be Sutton Foster. And these girls were like, wah! These girls would just scream. And then after that, we have Audra McDonald, and they're like, wah! They were just screaming like it was Justin Bieber at the height of it for Broadway people. It was cute. I loved it. And these girls are probably in shows and in school doing shows and all that stuff. I love that. What else about the Jeremy Jordan show? I really enjoyed it. I'm a big fan, and he was funny and charming. He had a piano player, music director, who was kind of like this funny gay guy, and they had banter going back and forth. And that day, I had been working on my play, and I decided that there's a scene where one of the characters talks about being in the musical Oklahoma in college. And the other one is a little jealous because he had wished that he had done more musicals. And later in this scene, I thought, I'm going to have that other character sing "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" while he's in the bathroom or showering or whatever. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to have him sing. So we hear him sing, the one that didn't do the musicals. And so I decided that day I'm going to do that. And then Jeremy Jordan walks out, and what does he open with? "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." And he does this really cool version where the melody's a little bit different, and I was like, okay, I guess it's going in the show. I've had so many experiences like that. This is really either divine or I'm losing my effing mind. But anyway, by the time I will have done the reading before you hear this. So, but I don't know how it's going to go because it's a few days away. Anyway, time is weird. That's the point. But that's it for this week. I want to give a shout out to Oscar Rosario for mixing my episodes. My theme music is by Mark Daniels for placement music. Catch you next time on Dennis Anyone. Bye.